What's good, creative fan? Brandon Washington here, and I've had the opportunity to test and review a lot of gimbals here on the channel. And it all started about 2 years ago with the Zhiyun Crane 2. This was my first single upright gimbal, and I found that it was the first one that could handle the weight of bigger capacity and better capacity cameras like the 1DX Mark II. This quickly became my go-to gimbal, but 2 years has gone by, and sure, they've come out with the Crane 3 and the Crane 3 Lab, but I'm excited today to share with you their return to the upright design with the brand new and improved Crane 2S. The Crane 2S is the successor to the Crane 2, and as someone who shot with the Crane 2 a lot, I can say that the Crane 2S is better in just about every way. Bigger OLED LED display for settings and camera control? Check. Axis locks for easier balancing and storage? Check. Updated follow focus system 2.0? Check. And all of this is packed in the same original upright design, but now the handle is even made out of carbon fiber. It was this original design that drew me to using gimbals more in the first place because of the small footprint that they required. Now I've had the pleasure of testing out this review unit for a few weeks, and all of the updates have been great. Granted, the unit that I received is a pre-production model with pre-production software, and even while testing it, I was receiving software updates, and to be completely honest with you, the user manual had not even been completed yet. So needless to say, this thing was new, but because of my experience with their gimbals and pretty much just gimbals in general, it was very easy for me to navigate, balance, and start shooting with this thing. If you've ever used the original Crane 2, the mechanics here are pretty much the same. Switching through shooting modes is simple as a click or a button or two, and if you use the mode dial, it makes it that much easier. On top of that, there's a little button on the back that if you hold that, it just quickly puts the whole thing into follow mode, which was pretty much my favorite mode to shoot this thing. But by far, my favorite new update to this thing has to be the new quick release system, or what Zhiyun is calling it, the new flex mount mounting system. And for good reason. With the new flex mount mounting system, you can quickly go from shooting horizontally, which is what we would all expect when shooting with a gimbal, but now flip your camera vertically and to create a higher quality IGTV video, stories, TikToks, or pretty much whatever you want when shooting vertically or using that aspect ratio. This may not sound like much, but personally, I love this new feature because now in 2020 more than ever, I've been getting called out to do a lot of shoots that are going to be used on social media platforms specifically, and ideally the client would like them all shot vertically. And if a shot is required to be used on a gimbal, well, now I have the option of mounting that camera vertically versus having to actually like drastically change up my framing or even guessing at my framing. Or of course, we've all done the whole cropping in a wide shot in order to nail that framing perfectly. Let's face it, vertical filmmaking, whether you want to accept it or not, is becoming more of a thing, especially in the world of social media. When it comes to shooting vertically with this gimbal, it's just as good as shooting horizontally. I mean, it definitely takes some getting used to, and just like with, shooting horizontally, you do have to balance it before you can start shooting with this thing, and sure, it took me a bit longer, but it was very helpful to have those axis locks because that makes the process that much easier. Also, since you don't have to change anything with the base plate on the camera, just quickly pull off this little bottom section. It makes jumping back and forth, well, easy. But once balanced, you get all the same features that you had before in the horizontal setup. We even went back out to grab a few extra shots vertically, and I personally think that these shots just look amazing. In fact, I had so much fun shooting vertically, I'm working on an entire video of tips and tricks that I've been studying and learning in order to help make your vertical videos look that much better. Now, because this model is a pre-production model, there were a few features that I didn't get a chance to test out, but all of that should be covered in my official review, which this is not, for two main reasons. One, the version that I've been testing is the pre-production model, and until I can test the version that you may be deciding to buy, I don't think I can give this product a complete and honest review. And also, this video is sponsored by Zhiyun, and I don't do paid reviews on this channel. That being said, I will never do a sponsored video for a company or product that I don't actually like. Also, even though this isn't a review, I had to test out the gimbal to ensure that it was something that I wanted to share here on the channel. So after going out and shooting with this gimbal, here are a few of my personal favorite features of the Crane 2S. Number one, the infinite roll. I actually showed off this feature in my Canon R5 first experience video. Links to that in the description. I used the Crane 2S to film this super smooth spin, and it was very easy to pull it off. Just a quick double tap on the mode dial and then another double tap and the gimbal was ready to go. It was definitely one of the shots from the video that got the most comments, and I believe this was because it's just a very uncommon shot and it took a lot of people by surprise. The next feature that I fell in love with is the improved motors and the support that they can actually handle. I mean, they can actually handle more weight than the original Crane 2, and they can actually support cameras like a small cinema camera like my rigged out Pocket 6K in a cage. Now, personally, I try to almost always keep my Pocket 6K in a cage for safety as well as for attachments such as my SSD holder. And with the improved motors, it's not only able to support the camera in a cage, but it's also able to support the camera hanging out the back of a moving car. Did I not mention that's how we got those opening shots at the beginning of this video? Okay, more on that in just a moment. The last thing that I loved about this gimbal was just how easy it was to dial in the motor controls for the shots. As I mentioned, this gimbal has a brand new, bigger OLED display, and with the ease of navigation through the menus, I was able to make the necessary changes to the gimbal in order to pull off all these shots smoothly. When it comes to being in the middle of the shot, the last thing you want to have to do is deal with any big clunky menu systems or trying to break out a phone to dial it in on an app. I was pleasantly surprised with how smooth and easy it was to dial in my settings in order to get my shots quicker. Now, at the beginning of this video, I showed you guys a few shots captured on the Crane 2S that was captured from the back of a moving car. Now, we shot it all at 24 frames per second. That way we couldn't cheat and slow anything down and make it look any smoother. And it was all done handheld with the gimbal hanging out of the back of the car, as I mentioned before, going roughly 10 to 20 miles per hour. Also, in case you didn't know, the Blackmagic 6K doesn't have any image stabilization, and neither did my Laowa 12mm lens or the 50mm Canon lens that we used to get these shots. I was really surprised with how smooth the footage looked. Now, although this is not my final official review of this gimbal, I will say that I did enjoy getting a chance to shoot with this gimbal as much as I did. It was always reliable, smooth, and it allowed me to be more creative with my shots, which when it comes to gear, that's what we should be looking for as creators. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a tool. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Zhiyun for sponsoring the video and sending out the Crane 2S early so I could share it with you guys. I'll have links in the description so that way you can check it out for yourself. And don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms so that way you can stay up to date with everything that's going on here on the YouTube channel and at the Creative Fam Academy. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.